Welcome. Today we're going to be working with geometric sequences. Yesterday we did arithmetic sequences. So a sub 1, the little sub, like a exponent but below, a sub 1 is the first term, a sub 2 the second term, and a sub n is any general term. The common ratio is found by taking a sub 2, r is a sub 2, divided by a sub 1. So when you want to find the common ratio here, we need to take the second term, in this case -8, and divide it by the first term, 4. Remember, this is a sub 1, a sub 2, a sub 3, a sub 4. So we've got -8 divided by 4, -2. You give these three a try for finding the common ratio. Pause your video and unpause when you are ready. So in this number 3, excuse me, second term divided by first term, -4. Hopefully you got that right. If not, pause and try the other two again and then see what you can do. R here is the second term, -24, divided by the first term, 4, -6. And finally, R here is -4 divided by -1, or 4. There you have the common ratios. Now let's try this, finding the next three terms. Now this is recursively. First, you need to know what R is, in this case, 3, -6 divided by -2. And this is, of course, a sub 1, a sub 2, a sub 3, a sub 4, the first 4 terms. We need the next 3, so a sub 5, a sub 6, and a sub 7. So when we calculate, we need to take the last term we have and keep multiplying by 3. So -54 times 3 is -162. That times 3 is -486. Ooh, not quite right. -486. And that times 3 is -1458. Let's fix that. -1458. Why don't you guys give these two a try, and you can pause your video while you're working on that. All right, here we go. R is -6, so a sub 1, 2, 3, 4, a sub 5, a sub 6, a sub 7. 864, that's negative, times -6, positive 5,184, times a -6, negative 31,104, and times a -6 back to positive 186,624. You can see these get very big very quickly. This one, R is 5, 10 divided by 2, a sub 1, 2, 3, 4, a sub 5, a sub 6, a sub 7. $250 times 5 is 1,250. Times 5 is 6,250. And times 5 is 31,250. Now, each time they ended up 250, that's a product or a result of multiplying by 5s in this case. So hopefully that's clear. Now we're going to do the explicit rule, or a rule for the a sub n term. So in this case, we start off with -3, 12, -48, 192. First term, second term, r is the first term on the bottom, second term on top, giving me -4 for r. Once I know what r is, I just have to use this first term and r and fill them in. A sub n equals the first term, -3 times r, -4 to the n minus 1 power. Unlike the arithmetic sequence, I'm not going to simplify the formula any further than what we already have here. That is as simplified as it needs to be for us to work with it. All right, give these two a try and see how you make out. R here was -6, so a sub n is the first term, -4 times -6 to the n minus 1 power. Over here, r is 5, so a sub n is going to be -2, the first term, times 5 to the n minus 1 power. There you have it. Let's take a look at another couple examples. Please give those two a try and come back when you're ready. R here was 5, so a sub n is going to be -1 times 5 to the n minus 1 power. And over here, r is 3, 12 divided by 4, so a sub n is 4 times 3 to the n minus 1. Finally, let's look at common ratio, rule for a sub n, and the 8th term, finding the value of the 8th term. Well, r is going to be 16 over -4 or -4. A sub n is going to be the first term, -4, times -4 to the n minus 1 power. Now it's coincidental that a sub 1 and r are the same value. A sub 8, well, that's nothing more than -4 times -4 to the 8n minus 1. Well, what is 8 minus 1? It's 7. Now, when we use your calculator, be aware that a negative to a power, well, we can do that part in our head, but if you're using the calculator and you want to use it to calculate that as well, you need parentheses around that number, because the calculator will not do it correctly unless the parentheses are there. So when I raise -4 to the 7th power, any odd exponent that you're raising a negative number to, it's going to be negative. So -16384, negative 16,384 times a -4 is going to give me a final answer of positive 65,536. There's your a sub 8. Very big. All right, let us try these two, and that will end our lesson for today. Go ahead and try it, paused, unpaused to see the results. R is -5 here, R is -6 here. A sub n is going to be -2 times -5 to the n minus 1. Over here, a sub n is going to be +2 times -6 to the n minus 1. a sub 8, negative 2 times negative 5 to the 8 minus 1, which is negative 2 times negative 5 to the 7. Now, negative 5 to the 7 is going to be negative 78,125. And when I multiply that times negative 2, I'm going to get a positive 156,250. There you go there. Let's go over here. A sub 8, 2 times negative 6 to the 8 minus 1, 2 times negative 6 to the 7. 2 times. Now that's going to be negative 6 to the 7, 2, 7, 9, 9, 3, 6. So negative 279,936 times 2, negative 559,872. There is your final answer. I hope this all was clear.